So these came out quite recently, the Nike Rejuve8 Reactx, and I thought I'd do a comparison with the Yeezy slides. I still feel the Yeezy slides are sort of top notch, and you know, I've got two different ones here. Let's use the one that's dirty, but there's a reason why I bought these ones up, because of the fact that, you know, they're quite sort of unique, I feel anyway. These released quite recently, like I said, and I think they'll still be popular, like the clogs version from Nike. I think this will still be a popular model. But in terms of, like, I suppose the pricing, they're quite sort of similar in terms of price. The Yeezy slide is probably slightly more expensive at $65, but obviously you can't buy these now and you have to go on the resale market, so expect to pay, you know, sort of £70 to £75, even to going towards £100, depending on the colorway and the I suppose, you know, the model as well, in terms of when it came out in year, because some of them differ and are probably more sought after, I guess, especially some of the older colorways. So I think with these two pairs, the reason I bought these ones up, this is like the new versions of the foam slides, Yeezy slides, whilst this is like the kind of like the OG pair. And there are differences, and you can sort of see they're both the same sizing, but this is ultimately, you know, a lot kind of bigger on foot, I suppose, and maybe it's, you know, I've sort of worn them quite a bit as well, but I think at the same time, you know, I've worn these a few times, but they haven't kind of broken in still, and they don't feel like they will, in all honesty, and I'll explain why in a minute. But, you know, overall, in terms of looks, I still prefer, you know, the way the Yeezy slides looks, because they've got that sort of minimalist look to them. They don't look sporty, and you can kind of get away with them wearing in both sorts of smart and casual settings. So in terms of looks, I still prefer the Yeezy slides over these. And the reason why I say that is this has kind of got more of a sporty look, and, you know, in terms of the way it looks, it probably looks slightly, arguably more chunkier as well on foot compared to the Yeezy slide. What I will say in terms of the grip, I think, you know, hands down, the Nike is going to win. This has got a nice sort of sticky tacky feel to it. Not to say that the Yeezy slide isn't bad. This kind of tooth type outsole works really, really well and doesn't wear down too quickly. So, and, you know, even if it does wear down, it still feels okay on foot and feels fine. And then going towards, say, the comfort, I think comfort wise, I feel like, you know, this Yeezy slide is going to win. And then probably the newer version of the Yeezy slide, and then I'd say the Reactx. In terms of like the way they feel on, you know, in hand, the Reactx is heavier than the Yeezy slide, and the Yeezy slide, even though it's got a bit of heft to it, it feels quite hollow at the same time, and the foam density they've used is quite nice on foot. And, you know, in terms of sort of comfort, I'm going to probably go with this one. This is kind of top notch because of the fact that it's using algae material in there, and you can sort of see that in here. Like, you can see the little cracks and grooves, and I know I've worn these quite a bit and I haven't cleaned them, so I do apologize about that, but it's my most worn pair of slides, and I've not even tried to sort of get rid of them. They started to sort of wear down a bit, but I just find them just feel really comfortable on foot. And like I said, they don't get me wrong, they have been broken in a bit, but there's just something about this material. Like I said, it's got this kind of weird creasing, cracking going on, and I'm sure it's to do with the algae material. It just feels really, really nice on foot. Whilst with this one, you don't have that. I've worn these quite a few times. They still look like new, and they have a more of a rubbery feel to them. Whilst this one's got more of a sort of easy sort of slack and sort of smoothness to it, and just, you know, like I said, doesn't feel as rubbery or solid as this particular pair. And like I said, I've worn I've got another version, which is a granite version, which is similar in terms of materials to this, and even that pair hasn't broken in, and they're all kind of the same sizing, and the granite pair feels same as this. And, you know, in terms of like on foot, I feel like they're still quite tight for me, even though I went up a whole size. And then with the Reactx, don't get me wrong, they feel nice on foot. Like I said, they do feel heavy. You don't feel that too much on foot, but because of the thick midsole that's in there, these feel more firmer than what you think they would. Compared to like the Reactx clogs, they feel quite soft on foot, whilst this feels more firmer because of the thicker midsole. And also, what I don't like is, you know, I'm a true size 7 UK, which is like a US 8, but my toe comes to about here, and I have to kind of really push my foot forward to make it go, you know, to come to here. And then this particular upper as well is not, the materials aren't that great, and it feels like very sort of cheap material and not that giving. I don't know, you know, if it will like break in and feel better, but comparing it to the Yeezy ones, you know, this feels the nicest, and then probably this one, and then lastly this one. But you know, it all depends on your preference really, and kind of what you like. Like I said, this has got the more sort of sportier look, while these have got more classic looks. You know, if I could have doubled up or tripled up on a bunch of these, and I probably would have. I do have another pair of this particular shape and color, but I can't remember if it's the same, you know, same as these in terms of the materials, and I'm kind of sort of quite reticent to get rid of these until, you know, they're completely sort of falling apart. But you know, I think, like I said, it's my most worn pair, and I've not found anything that replaces that. And you know, I've had a bunch of Crocs slides as well, and I find those are probably too soft for me. But I don't have one for a comparison at the moment. But you know, they're nice on foot as well. And if you're looking for something really soft and squishy, and as a recovery shoe, then definitely go for the Crocs, especially like the Mellow slides. But however, I still prefer these, and I still end up going back to the Yeezy slides mostly. But you know, this is still a strong contender. If you can't, you know, get these, or they're too high in price nowadays, you know, I'd probably just go for these because it's got a very similar feel. But you know, it's just got that more sort of sportier look to them.